who better ahead of UFC 264 this weekend? Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. The rubber match goes down. And I said, who better than one of the best, generally, I believe, in all the sports play-by-play guys, Mr. Jon Anik, to come on and have a little chat about the fight. John, first of all, I spoke to you, we're organising this over the weekend. It was your birthday on Saturday. Obviously, happy belated birthday first and foremost. And then obviously 4th of July yesterday. But you had a little bit of a ordeal in getting out to Las Vegas. Can you fill the guys in? How are you, first of all? Happy birthday, my man.
Well, thank you, my man. It's always good to chop it up with you, especially in advance of a card of this magnitude. But yeah, as many of you know, Hurricane Elsa was starting to rear its ugly head there in South Florida. It did get downgraded to a tropical storm. But for a lot of the Florida-based athletes, Nico Price, Gilbert, Burns, and some of the personnel like myself, they wanted us to get out of Dodge before the winds and the rain intervened. So, yeah, I was enjoying the birthday on July 3rd, and the phone calls kept coming in. And I said, can you give me 24 hours? We'll monitor the forecast. And they said, Conor McGregor's fighting this weekend. Why don't you get your ass to Las Vegas? So, came out on July 4th, and that is as early as I have ever come out for a UFC live event. But I don't have to tell you, giving a play-by-play guy extra prep time is never a bad thing. So here we are.
Definitely. And then you're one of the best in the game in all the sports, as I did say. Did you have any celebrations in? None at all, no? For the birthday?
Bit,
for the 30th birthday, John.
What's that?
Your 30th birthday. Make sure you get that in.
30, yeah. 43 years of age. Birthday is always interesting for me because I'm an identical twin. And it's always interesting because my twin brother just hates our birthday. He won't even wish me a happy birthday. So I go the other way, calling him first thing, hey, man, happy birthday. I hope you have a great day. But no, we had some good time with the family. And obviously we got a big 2 weeks coming up here for the UFC. So ready to go.
Big time. Obviously a huge card this weekend, John. And I just want to get to you. Obviously, McGregor, he's in town. He's in Las Vegas. For you personally, is the excitement still the same? Is it still, fever pitch going into McGregor fight week for you?
It's interesting when I get that question because in the preamble to this fight, I think a lot of people have proposed that question and almost answered it themselves, Niall, by saying, hey, man, the buzz doesn't seem to be there for a Conor McGregor fight. What's going on? And I see it almost the opposite way, right? We had this Fight Island backdrop in January. There were no fans. I mean, we had a couple thousand fans in the building, but it was a very different climate. Now, Las Vegas backdrop, we're going to have fans in the building at T-Mobile Arena for the first time since March of 2020. Amazing. I feel like this is as sought after a UFC ticket as any in UFC history. I mean, I have been badgered with people trying to get in the building for this event. So I haven't been able to glean exactly where we are because I just got here in terms of the overall buzz in Las Vegas. But I can tell you now, this is as sought after a UFC ticket as I have ever come across. And I don't think there is any lack of buzz or hype. I think this is going to be monumental this Saturday. And obviously, if Conor McGregor can put what happened in January behind him by taking out Dustin Poirier, then the MMA world will once again be his oyster. I can't wait.
Is the excitement that big stateside, do you feel? Because as I said to you off air there, it's a little bit hard to gauge here in Ireland because we just started opening back up. Everyone's sort of still getting vaccinated. There's still a lot of restrictions around. Is the buzz, is the feeling really big for this fight in the US?
I think it's huge. And again, my indicators are social media, how many ticket requests I get from casual people in my life that haven't texted me in years. So that's a pretty good indicator for me. And I would also say, too, in terms of the domestic landscape for sports in America right now, the NBA and the NHL are coming down to the end, right? So you just have Major League Baseball. We're coming off a weekend where we didn't have a live event. So the fans are just jonesing to watch live mixed martial arts. I think we're going to do a huge pay-per-view number. I think everything is pointing in the direction that this thing is going to be a monster. I'm a little bit surprised, though, Niall, that as I've done media, a lot of people are sort of wondering aloud why the buzz isn't there. Because for me, I'm anxious. This feels like another Conor McGregor fight, which is to say it feels larger than life.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel as though there's an air of nervousness around this fight this week. And the one thing why I'm getting that sense of feeling is probably the lack of talk from both camps. I think that emphasizes how important this fight is for both guys. Would you go along with that statement that the silence just shows how big a fight this is for both guys' career trajectory going down the line?
Yeah, I think you put it well. I think Conor McGregor has certainly been calculated with his lack of output in terms of what he has given the media. I think that will change in the next few days leading up to the fight. But I thought on the other side, Niall, Dustin Poirier was very forthcoming with detail and with venom. You know, it even sort of registered on Conor's radar, saying something like, wow, Dustin has had a lot to say of late. So I think clearly to me, Dustin Poirier has gained a lot of confidence from what happened in January to be able to win a fight like that in which he was tested early. There seems to be this narrative that Dustin Poirier dominated this second meeting.
I agree with you.
Conor McGregor
won
won the first round.
Definitely.
So Conor McGregor got plenty of things done, and I think that is very encouraging for Dustin Poirier that he was able to sort of withstand that and still produce a knockout and finish Conor with strikes, which no man had done before. So I think Dustin's comments, we shouldn't overstate them, but I do think it speaks to his confidence from getting it done against Conor not all that long ago.
Yeah, I think it was quite, you know, he's even said it himself, as he said, I think with the interview was Brett Okamoto from your colleague from ESPN. But, you know, the interesting thing for me is that, you know, I thought Conor would have come out and, you know, stirred up the pot a little bit more and talked a little bit more shit. Do you expect that later in the week on Thursday? Because I don't think we're going to see the niceties we saw in the build-up to the first fight.
Yeah, I do think that Conor's not going to hold anything back, but I think bigger picture, it's really about being in Las Vegas, being away from his family, being in a more normal fight atmosphere than what we had on Fight Island, right? He's in a massive suite on Fight Island. His children are there. And I think for the first time in Conor McGregor's life as a professional mixed martial arts athlete, he was just happy to be there. He was just happy to be a part of Fight Week. He was happy to be a part of Fight Island. And it's not as though he had a subpar training camp. Some have suggested maybe he underestimated that version of Dustin Poirier. And perhaps there's a little bit of truth there. But for me, if I'm looking for good things for Conor McGregor, advantages for Conor McGregor, he's going to have a crowd. He's going to have a normal fight week. His children aren't anywhere to be found. I think he is void of distraction and his focus is back in the right place. And I think those are all good indicators for Conor. The one thing Conor hasn't had, Niall, and I'm trying to be efficient with my comments, the one thing Conor hasn't had that Dustin has had is just a decade worth of nonstop mixed martial arts training. Conor McGregor has had other things occupy his time, whether it's coming up on a third child or the boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. He had lost valuable developmental time in his prime in MMA. And if that ends up being a factor Saturday night, then maybe that'll be the reason that he loses. But skill for skill in terms of the athletes on both sides, I think Conor McGregor has a lot of advantages, and I'm excited to see what he can do with sort of a renewed mental approach that maybe he didn't have in January.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I think it's good that he's, you know, from Conor's point of view, that he's sort of starved himself from his family, from D and everyone, and gone over there and set up base in California. But is that era of invincibility gone, John, to a certain extent? Do you feel after some of the performances at lightweight, it sort of feels that way that it is?
Yeah, I think to dismiss that would be ignorant of me. So I think you hit on a good point there. I can't believe that we sit here in 2021 and Conor McGregor is 1-2 at 155 pounds in the UFC. This was ubiquitously regarded as the weight class in which he was going to be doing his best work. This is the weight class in which all of us want to see him competing. And on the other side, you have Dustin Poirier, who's got like 11 UFC lightweight wins compared to just one for Conor McGregor. But I do think as Conor sustains, if he continues to compete in what is his optimal weight class, I think he is going to realize success. But I do think when you're on the wrong end of a knockout loss like that, it can't help but play in your head a little bit, you know. But who knows what exactly was the major factor for that knockout loss for Conor McGregor? Was it the calf kicks? Was it that he didn't have an optimal training camp? Was it that he took Dustin Poirier lightly? Or is Dustin Poirier just the better mixed martial arts athlete in a 25-minute contest? I really don't know. But I do believe that all systems and all signs point to Conor McGregor just being of a better mindset, physically, mentally, emotionally, and otherwise going into this third meeting. And I also think a lot of people, Niall, have said, you know, Dustin stands to benefit greatly from the fact that these guys fought just 6 or 7 months ago. I think Conor stands to benefit from that reality as well. So it's essentially a pick 'em fight on paper. I mean, I know I can't give you a pick because I'm calling the fight. I wouldn't be in any great rush to bet this fight right now, but I can understand why some people seeing Conor McGregor in the plus money territory as an underdog would be a little bit interested in him at that price.
John, you mentioned there the calf kicks, and there was a lot made of that. As I said to you, I think people are sort of overlooking the first round in that bout. Conor McGregor, in my opinion, was dominant, looked really, really good. But something, again, that's not been talked about, it's been an issue since the Khabib fight, in my opinion, is the cardio. Like, Conor looks a little bit sort of more muscular than he's ever been. I believe the cardio is a massive issue. Would you go along with that? Because he seemed to really fade in that second round. I know the calf kicks were there. They're obviously, a huge weapon. But everything looked telegraphed in that second round, in my opinion.
Yes, I think you bring it up, and you do so wisely, right? I don't know that Conor McGregor, even if he puts forth the greatest training camp of his professional life, is going to have the cardiovascular base over 25 minutes that a guy like Dustin Poirier does. I just think the way Conor is built physiologically, the way his fighting style is such that maybe he's not going to be as good in round 5 as he is in rounds 1 and 2. Now, certainly you have maybe an outlier, if you want to call it that, his performance against Nate Diaz over 25 minutes. But were Conor McGregor to beat Dustin Poirier over 25 minutes this weekend, I think he would really mute a lot of the naysayers that suggest that cardio is forever going to be an issue for him. But Niall, I just am not sure that even if he puts in all the right work, that he's not going to be tired in rounds 4 and 5. I just think the way he's built, the way he fights stylistically, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to having the tank be on full in round 5. It doesn't mean he can't do it, but I certainly like Conor inside of 15 minutes more than I do on points this weekend.
And you mentioned the calf kicks. I think it's something Conor needs to address anyway. And, I expect more actual volume from him on the output with his kicks as well in this fight. Can he have a training camp and learn to nullify those fight camps in just those calf kicks in such a short space of time?
Yeah, I think so. I think he has to adjust his stance a little bit, and maybe we'll see it's a touch more upright. But if any fighter can make the adjustments, it's Conor McGregor, right? He is an absolute master of range and distance management. I remember Demetrius Johnson pulling me aside like 10 years ago. Probably not 10, but maybe 7. And he was like, you don't understand. This dude is a master of range manipulation and distance management. So I have no doubt that Conor can make a few adjustments. And the thing is, it's okay to take one. I mean, I think there's this prevailing statement that, man, you can't even take one. You just can't take 6 or 7, right? 100%. I mean, I think Dustin's probably going to land a calf kick, but if you look at the tail end of round 1 and the start of round 2, Dustin realizing great success with that weapon time and time again, and when Conor let down his guard a little bit late in round 1, Dustin Poirier landed 2 right on the meat of that calf muscle.
Kept going at it.
I just feel like for Conor, he just has to be very mindful of that weapon, and I think he will be. I think the real issue for Conor is that Dustin has many more ways to win and inflict damage than just that calf kick. But no, I think McGregor and Kavanaugh and Owen Roddy and the whole team, they'll make the requisite adjustment. But can they sustain over 25 minutes? We'll see.
Interesting. You talked about different weapons there, and I sort of go along with your thought process there in terms of what Dustin has. And I was just sort of thinking there, are we going to see something different from Dustin Poirier in this? Is he going to go down maybe that, the second Eddie Alvarez fight where he made it sort of gritty, grindy up against the cage and surprise Conor? Because obviously some of the talk he said in that interview with Brett Okamoto as well was he was, Conor was biting back saying, I want to stand and bang. He doesn't want to get sucked into that sort of wrestling game. Do you expect anything different from Dustin in this fight?
I think he'll mix it up. He has prided himself on doing that, and maybe it sounds simplistic as an answer, but certainly to your point, we saw him diversify his attack very early on in that second meeting. He shot for a takedown, I think, a minute in and was able to get it. Didn't keep Conor McGregor down all that long, but made him think about the wrestling early on. And I don't know that any fighter on this roster, pound for pound, man or woman, thrives in the chaos of a fight quite like Dustin Poirier. I mean, he has proven to be the more durable guy. So I do think that would serve him well to try to run clock early, try to extend Conor McGregor, and to absolutely make it a dogfight. Because even though I think that Conor is more durable overall than he is being given credit for, I think you'd agree with me that over 25 hard minutes, Dustin Poirier is the naturally bigger man. And that's why he wanted this fight at 70, by the way. He's the naturally bigger man, and he is the more durable MMA fighter. But I think he'll mix it up, and I think you'll see Conor mix it up, maybe throw some calf kicks of his own. Man, I can't wait. Just talking to you about this is heightening my enthusiasm.
How significant a factor, John, is the fact that, I think it was the second or the end of the first round, maybe early second, before the fight actually ended, the second one, that Dustin was able to eat a couple of really, really big shots from Conor. Psychologically, I think that's going to be a big, big advantage for Dustin Poirier on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a game of inches, it's a game of millimeters, and 1 millimeter one way or the other, and the whole narrative changes, right? Conor McGregor knocks Dustin Poirier out in round one. He's 2-0 up in the series, and Conor's fighting Charles Oliveira potentially for the undisputed UFC lightweight championship. It is truly a game of millimeters, and I think the one thing working against Conor on that front is that is a fact of which Dustin Poirier is acutely aware. Probably too close for comfort, Niall, in that first fight, right? Getting touched with power shots in round one that he did not want to get touched with. And it stands to reason that if he gets touched with that same shot in this fight, that he's twitching on the canvas. So I do think that you'll see Dustin be very mindful of that. And I do think people who are having a hard time finding a path of victory for Conor McGregor are just losing sight of what happened in that second meeting. And we can talk all we want about Poirier's durability, but let's also talk about Conor McGregor's power. I mean, he is certainly the more potent knockout threat. And again, Dustin Poirier, listen to what he's saying, right? He's talking about how special Conor McGregor is. He's saying he is the best counter striker in MMA history, right? Dustin Poirier understands what type of challenge he is up against. And I think Dustin knows that if he's not perfect in the first 6 or 7 minutes of this fight, it stands to reason that he's not going to produce the desired result.
John, obviously I can't ask you for a pick, but does the winner get a title shot, I presume? Yes, you're going along those lines, the winner, regardless?
Certainly, if Dustin Poirier wins this fight, he's going to fight Charles Oliveira for the undisputed UFC lightweight championship. I don't know exactly what Conor McGregor's motivation is. I can tell you pretty convictedly that Conor is back to bolster his MMA legacy. Yeah. He doesn't like when guys like me are able to say that he's 1-2 at 155 pounds in the UFC. And as I have long said, maybe even with you, I don't think Conor McGregor is going to enjoy the fruits of his labor, feet up in retirement, without a few more scalps on his MMA resume, despite his status as the first simultaneous double champ in UFC history. Can you imagine what a win over a 2021 version of Dustin Poirier would do for McGregor legacy-wise? It would do a lot. So that's why Conor McGregor is back. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that he has prioritized becoming a 2-time lightweight champion more than maybe getting that trilogy fight with Nate Diaz or pursuing a Jorge Masvidal fight. I don't know what the future holds for Conor McGregor with a win or a loss, but I think we should all appreciate the fact that this very wealthy man is back trying to add to his already appreciable legacy, and that's why he's back. So, yeah, I'd love to see Conor get another title fight, but I think ultimately it'll be his choice as to what is next if he's able to get through Poirier this weekend.
John, you're making me excited as well. Bloody hell, I want this to start now. I'm getting excited. Listen, I have to ask you as well, there's a number of other excellent fights in the cards. I think the one sort of stand out for me on the card further down is Nico Price, Michel Pereira, Trevin Giles and Dricus du Plessis, and also we've Ryan Hall against Ilia Topuria. What else sticks out for you on the card on Saturday night? Because it's pretty stacked top to bottom.
So I'm so close to it at this point in time that I could literally go fight by fight with you, but you touched on a couple of fights that really pique my interest. Nico Price and Michel Pereira is just absolute fireworks, but we have seen a more measured approach from Pereira of late. If you look at the Chaos Williams fight, was not in any great rush and really leaned on the wrestling to put a stamp on that fight late. And Nico is just another showman and ultimate wild man. So I love that fight. But Ryan Hall versus Ilia Topuria, right?
That's good.
Two guys at very different stages of their career. Both guys are undefeated in the UFC. Topuria, 23, 24 years old. He's never lost as an MMA pro. And although he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I don't think he's going to want to engage Ryan Hall on the ground at all. I was surprised to see Ryan Hall as high as a plus 180 underdog, but I think Vegas and odds makers oftentimes have a healthy amount of respect for undefeated fighters, and Topuria certainly qualifies. But I'm very excited for that fight, and it's an embarrassment of riches, my man. Even Tai Tuivasa and Greg Hardy. Yeah. It seems like nobody's talking about that fight because of how strong the co-main and the main event are. But two really athletic, power-packing heavyweights, and the winner is going to really be in a position to have another big fight later this year. So, man, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to see how this all plays out. And Joe Rogan, my broadcast partner, always says the fight game is just so crazy and you truly never know what's going to happen. And we can sit here and prognosticate all we want. And dude, if we were to sit down next week, the only thing I can guarantee you is that something absolutely crazy is going to happen on Saturday.
No doubt. Anytime Conor McGregor's in town or anywhere, something crazy seems to happen. But, John, yeah, you mentioned, the co-main event before we wrap it up. I think that's a potential of maybe not number one contender spot, but up around that sort of area, because then Colby's next in line. But what a fight that is on paper as well. We've Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Gilbert. Cracking scrap, in my opinion.
Oh, so good. And it's interesting for me now because Stephen Wonderboy Thompson accepted this fight with Gilbert Burns before Usman Masvidal rematch had even been booked. So it seemed as though Stephen Thompson, at 38 years old, despite how good his current form is, that he was of the mindset that he was going to have to get another win to get a title shot. You have Covington and Leon Edwards obviously lurking. But the fresh matchup now that I think a lot of people would love to see would be Kamaru Usman against Stephen Thompson.
Yeah,
if he can get past a very tough, well-rounded Gilbert Burns. So it's a huge fight stakes-wise. Burns is the one with the red corner and the number 2 next to his name. But I do believe if Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is able to win, then all of a sudden Kamaru Usman has 3 legitimate options: Edwards, Covington in a rematch, or the fresh matchup with Thompson. But don't sleep on Gilbert Burns. I have said I think he needs to pursue a floor fight this weekend, but his power certainly. Yeah,
well, if he's going to stand with Stephen, he's going to lose 9 times out of 10. That's where Stephen was so good on the feet. A couple of fights back, he's just a masterclass on the feet, and I think that is the key to victory for Gilbert Burns. But listen, John, what a pleasure, man, to have you on. I do appreciate you coming by and, through all the difficulties you've had this weekend. And I know you didn't get to celebrate your birthday or Independence Day, but really appreciate it, my friend. I'm looking forward to listening to you in the booth again this weekend. Always brilliant.
Thank you, my man. Always good to chop it up with you. Thanks for reaching out, and keep growing that lettuce, man. The hair looks good.
Yeah. No, I'm going to get the mullet cut in soon, John, so I maybe get the tash going again. And you should get the tash going again as well, I believe.
Oh, it'll be here by Saturday. It'll be here.
No mullet? You're not going to grow that hair back like it was?
About the mullet,
John, you can still do it, man. Don't give up on the mullet, brother.
I'm going bald. People think I'm going bald. It's just that it's white. Like, you see how white that is? That's why we shave it.
Your brother has some haircut. If he can do it, you can do it. John, I always appreciate the time, man. Take care. Best of luck.
Thank you, my man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for checking out the video. If you want to see more videos like this, do hit the subscribe button and also the notification button so you don't miss any future updates. You can also catch us on social media and also give the video a thumbs up. It does help. Thanks, guys.